Welcome to Burn Book to Bank Book, your inner teen money masterclass. And I just want to first address the fact that these two topics are rarely, if ever, brought together, which I've always found to be completely fucking insane. Because when you look around the world right now, do you really see the world operating in a mature adult way when it comes to their time, their money, their energy, aka their resources? No, we don't. We see people who are entitled or demanding or extractive. We see people trying to skimp and save and go really frugal so that they deprive their lives of what they really need. All of those behaviors are not fully grown adults who are ready and willing to take care of all parts of us. If you are brand new to me, welcome. If you're returning, welcome home. If we've never met, my name is Stefania, and I serve reverence and responsibility through a practice called financial intimacy. And I know that sounds weird because if you go Google it, financial intimacy means something like a husband and a wife talking about money, which should probably happen. But the way that I teach it is that it's about you becoming honest about your resources so that you can embody the wealth that is innately yours. See, financial intimacy is a practice, and it is one that I teach through the curriculum of Bank. Bank is my cornerstone work, but that is not what we're here to talk about. See, Bank as a membership container can be really intense and really activating for those who still have their inner teen operating their money. So I also teach a program called the Piggy Bank, which allows people to reassess their inner teen and their money shit so they can actually show up more adult and sovereign in their lives. But beyond the money stuff, I'm more of what you call a multidisciplinary coach. I'm also a dog mom, but that's kind of irrelevant, but just in case she pops up here because she's really excited. If you've been following me on social media, you'll probably know that I am known for cash, ass, and sass. And that's what I mean by multidisciplinary, because none of those three things should cohesively align, but when it comes to me, they seem to. So let me explain what those three things mean. I teach cash because I teach wealth. I spent a decade in finance to be able to understand how money moves in and out of business, but also exchanges hands between individuals and all of the different patterns that come up with it. That's what led to the creation of the financial intimacy curriculum. But I also teach ass. Well, it's ultimately embodiment of power. How do we actually behave in our own bodies? And how do we hold ourselves in sensational experiences? Because ultimately, money is a sensational one that most of us would rather get rid of. But I also come with things that are a little bit sassy, because I also think that expression is really important. And whether you are learning how to be more fully expressed in the face of things that have told you not to be, that's really what I'm here for. So it's time for us to get started. What I would love for you to do is take out a pen and a piece of paper. And if you're on the road listening to the replay or on the road because you're here live, that's okay. You don't need to write this down. You can think about it, but make sure you write it down later. Take in a real big breath for me here. The kind of breath that you've never really given yourself because you have been driving through hell. When it comes to money, everything is tight as fuck. Now is the opportunity to let that go. Taking a big inhale through the nose, all the way down the throat, allowing that inhale to go all the way down into your butt, and then expanding at the very bottom before you let out a deep fucking sigh. It is okay if you are exhausted with trying to heal your money wounds. It is okay if you feel lost with all this financially literacy mumbo jumbo. It is okay if you're frustrated, if you're resentful, if you're pissed off, if you're like, I don't want to work no more. That's okay. Give yourself the breath you need here. Shake it out. You might already be feeling a ton of intensity in your body, and that is perfect because you are alive. I want you to feel energy in your body because the moment you don't have energy in your body, well, you're not alive anymore. Okay. So we want that. It's important. But I want you to take a moment and I want you to think back to the version of you that existed between the ages of 14 and 19. Now, it's not that I have anything against 13-year-olds, but they're still more like the preteen stage. And I want to look at the real fucked up shit we did at 19 and 18 and 17 and 16 and 14 when we're just really learning how to be a little bit ridiculous. Think back to who you were. Think back to what interested you, what frustrated you. And for the next couple moments, I want you to write down what you desired back then. What was something you said you would do anything to have? Maybe a car. If you were me, it was an Orb hoodie. And then as soon as the brands started coming out, it was Lululemon and TNA and Aritzia's ever-changing lineup of clothing. Maybe you wanted a vacation. What were the things that you truly desired in those moments between 14, 15, all the way up to 19? Maybe you wanted a day off. Maybe you desired Christmas actually be like Christmas. Maybe you just desired a birthday gift. Ask yourself, what did you think you really wanted back then? And just make a note of it. And this list may go on for eternity. So feel free to pause me if you're watching the replay. Now, what I want you to do is draw a line under the list you've already created and take another deep, deep inhale and sigh it out. Allow the emotions to start bubbling up when you realize that you had some beliefs about those desires, some beliefs of whether or not you could actually have them. As those emotions start to bubble up to the surface, I want you to write them down. What did you believe about each desire? Did you believe you really could have that car you wanted? Or were Camaros only for the rich kids? Did you really believe that Christmas could be a thing in your family? Or was that only for kids whose parents didn't divorce? See, every single one of those desires, whether or not you actually had them, had a belief attached to them. And even if you did get some of those desires fulfilled, there may also be a belief attached to that too. Like, I worked really hard, so that's why I have this. I only got this orb sweater because I worked on every weekend and I missed out on all the parties as a teenager. And I want you to write them all down, because who you were between 14 and 19 and the desires you had at that age and your beliefs about those very desires gave rise to a strategy. And that strategy is what created the foundations for you to have what you believe you needed. Take another breath, inhaling through the nose, sighing it out through the mouth, because inner teens tend to have one of two strategies: rebellion or conformity. See, teenagers have a tendency of being adrenaline junkies, not because they can't have something more neutral, but because that's kind of what they're designed for. See, teenagers are meant for the world of discovery and learning who they are. And the best way to learn who you are is to swing from one side to the other. It just so happens that when you're a teenager, your survival strategy is the strongest. But unfortunately, as we grow up, that survival strategy ensures we always need something to survive so that the strategy can be maintained. So as you look at your desires and the beliefs about those desires, and you recall who you were, can you see which strategy you picked? Did you decide that you were going to rebel against the system, saying that the system's fucked, so therefore I'm fuck the whole thing? Or were you someone who was so deeply scared that you opted for conformity, thinking that you were the fucked up one? See, unfortunately, rebellion and conformity are opposite sides of the same spectrum, because what's in the middle doesn't quite exist yet. Not for a teenager, because what's in the middle of that spectrum is autonomy, the ability to be sovereign with your life, the very truth that when it comes to your life, you are the ultimate and supreme authority over what happens within it. Conformity says, I have no power, so therefore I have no autonomy. Rebellion says, my power is all I have, so I must defend it. But see, the thing about pendulum swings, whether you started off as a conformist and then in your 20s you rebelled to the other side, or you started off with rebellion and then you completely swung to conformity when you hit university, the fact that you're swinging from either extreme still shows me that there is an adolescent side of you that doesn't know how to meet it in the middle, that doesn't quite know how to be the autonomous adult that you are. But here's the crazier thing. When you look back at those desires, the material things you wanted or the experiences you wished you could have, those aren't really your teen's desires. Those are compensations for something deeper. That not only did you not know how to voice, you had no fucking clue how to get them met, because you're just a teenager. You don't have autonomy. You live under your parents' roof. Even if the parents' roof was dysfunctional and leaky, you don't have adult sovereignty yet. So how are you supposed to get these deeper desires met? Now you might be thinking, no, Steph, I 100% wanted that Camaro. Or no, I need you to understand that new phone would have made all the difference in my life. They're compensations, because those aren't desires of teenagers. Those are strategies that a teenager uses to feel the equivalent of what it actually wants. So what the fuck do teenagers want? Identity, self-expression. They want to be autonomous. They want to be independent. They want connection and community. They want adventures and new experiences and to be able to learn and grow. But teenagers also want security and stability. They want to know that they have a safe home to rest their head in while they discovered new edges of who they are. But when you don't know how to have those needs met, you'll find some sort of compensatory alternative to mimic the feeling. So what the fuck are we supposed to do then? I have an inner teen who has no idea how to have connection and community, or no idea how to have security. The only thing I know is survival. What the hell am I supposed to do? My entire life is based on survival now, Steph. Well, could be true. Or you can work on healing your inner teen shit first and see how much of that survival is actually synthetic. See, if your inner teen is operating your financial world they also need to have that belief system reinforced over and over and over again. Meaning every decision you make has to reinforce that you're not autonomous, because a teenager only has one of two survival strategies: conformity or rebellion. So despite the desire for autonomy and connection and everything that happens not inside rebellion or conformity, they feel lost. But that's because your inner teen isn't supposed to be responsible for having those needs met. Adult you is supposed to take care of that inner teen, so those needs are always met. So how do we heal our inner teen from having to take the reins of something they don't want to be taking the reins of, or nor is that the best job for them? Well, you're going to have to understand and forgive your own delulu. I mean it. Those delusional beliefs that you had as a teenager, like, oh, I'm just going to go to university and get a 6-figure job straight out of graduation. Or those delulu beliefs that tell you, oh, no, someone else will pay the bill. But also the delulu beliefs that says, I have to work so bloody hard that my finger beds bleed for even an ounce of wealth. You're going to have to understand the delusional aspects of your inner teen who needs those stories to thrive, who needs that drama and intensity to live. And you need to forgive that. So when we look to the past, we can see it for what it is and then come into the present and get real with what's real. See, most of our distortions when it comes to wealth, money, use of resources is because we're using our past delusions and belief systems and the survival strategies that we used to cope with and reinforcing them into the present moment, distorting reality as it is. For example, you're not going to be able to see that you need to leave your day job if your inner teen has a delusion that you are not allowed to leave a job unless you have a better one already secured. It's also going to help you not see that you need to be real with the fact that your debt is getting a lot larger and you need to be paying it down more than you're using it. But an inner teen belief that's gone unchecked will say, no, I'll get a better paying job later. It'll handle itself. You see, we have to look to the past to be able to look in the present clearly, honestly, and intimately. But that's not where it ends, because just be able to heal and forgive and recognize the delusions of our past and then be able to see the impact in the present, that doesn't actually change anything. And that's when we get into practice. See, practice is what financial intimacy is all about. Because when I serve reverence and responsibility, I'm not asking for perfection. I'm always asking for practice. Can you lean further in to a pose you've never held before, like paying your debt off more regularly? What gets in the way of that? Scarcity, fear, resistance, lack. Okay. The beauty of practice is that we can build muscles where we didn't previously have them. But without it, we're kind of in a standstill. So I wanted to take a moment and consider all of the things that I've brought up so far. And if you're here watching the replay, I want you to let me know in the comments, what is landing for you right now? What are you actually hearing for yourself? What are you seeing? And if there's things that I've said that don't quite land, don't worry about it. That's not for you today. But it's clear that you need to be able to digest what is for you, because those are the nuggets that are going to be super important. Those are going to be the things that you get to alchemize in real time out in your everyday life. See, what the beautiful thing about a lot of these delusions, I like to call them delusions, but these belief systems that our inner teens have, like, I can't create wealth, they're designed to hold you back from practicing becoming the person who can. Because the truth is, a teenager can't create wealth. That is a fact. And that's even the crazier part about a lot of these delusions is, like, some of them are actually true, because it's a teenager trying to do something that a teenager is not supposed to be doing. It is so cruel and unfair, and it is unusual punishment to ask a 17-year-old to take care of your 35-year-old life. But we do it. We perpetuate the patterns and belief systems that our parents inherited from their parents, and so on and so forth, because sometimes it's easier to use what we've been given rather than create something new. See, the thing about these teenager patterns is that they are alive today. When we can't separate what our inner teen believes and our inner teen does, it's because it's so alive right now. It feels real. It feels like reality because our inner teenager requires it to be the reality they're living in. That's what neural grooves do, is they omit any information that could be contrary to what the belief system is, because the belief system must be reinforced. I can't create wealth. I need to survive. There's not enough money in the world. That's for rich kids. I have to work harder than everybody else. Even some of the more positive belief systems, right? Like, I can't have wealth unless I go without. I need to be frugal. I need to obey a budget. All of these things, hyper conformity, hyper rebellion, both of those belief systems their categories of belief systems, what ends up happening is that they take your power away, ultimately, ensuring you never have the needs you need met, and in turn, ensuring you remain broke. And when I say remain broke, what do I actually mean? Well, maybe let's start with, what do I mean by wealthy? Is it enough to have all the money in the world, but not enough time or energy to use it? Do we consider someone wealthy who has all the time, but they have no money in the bank account and they're just totally dead on the couch wealthy? Do we consider someone who has plenty of energy, but they're completely financially broke and they're super busy all the time wealthy? No, because wealth isn't a function of just money. It's not a function of just energy or time. It is a function of being able to afford to live your life. You can't afford the time or energy to live your life just because you have the money. You can't afford to live your life just because you have the time. You need all three. And that's why financial intimacy is so rooted in having reverence, the deep embodied sense of respect for the truth of who you are and the truth that's unfolding in your life, to ensure that you have the time, the money, and the energy to live exactly as and who you are. See, healing the inner teen is not something you do once. It's not even something that you go into meditation and things are better. It's a relationship. It's being able to check in with all parts of you and say, I've got you. You don't have to take care of me because I can. The problem being is that if your inner teen has been rolling and running rogue with your money, they may not trust you. And I want to just give you space if you feel grief there. But at the same time, I don't want you to blame them. See, as a teenager, you probably had a belief that adult you would have this, that once you graduated, you move out of your family home and that you would have enough money to make decisions and have this bountiful life that you truly desired. And then now you look at your life and you feel let down. It's okay that happened. And trust me, I understand the pain of a mother saying, I'm disappointed in you, but it is also infinitely worse when it's us saying it to ourselves. I'm so disappointed that we didn't become the wealthy version that I knew was possible. Because the crazy thing is that as a 17-year-old, you 100% thought that choosing that student loan would get you the good paying job and that the good paying job would eventually pay back the student loan and then you would have this bountiful life. Your inner teen, when you were a teenager, made the best decision possible given the circumstances. It's not the teenage you that let you down. It's the adult you that didn't step forward to respond to the reality as it was unfolding. Maybe you decided you didn't want to become a doctor or a business person or a veterinarian or a mechanic. But that's also not the choice the inner teen actually made. Reminding yourself of the desires a teenager actually has: stability, security, autonomy. They were just using that career as a way of achieving those desires. So it's not about the degree you didn't complete and now you have to pay for the student loan. It's not about the job you didn't get. It's about the need that has still gone unsatisfied. So it's okay to feel disappointed. It's okay to be mad at yourself. But the thing is that ultimately it becomes a sovereign choice of whether or not you're going to do something different. If you're actually going to allow yourself to get your inner teen's needs met, because adult you can handle it. I want you to take a big deep breath here, because there might be some insecurities around, no, Steph, my inner adult's incompetent. And I want you to know that if those are the words you're saying, it is because your inner teen is still the one in the driver's seat. See, the key to being financially intimate is to be present in what's going on in your life. It's to really allow yourself to adjust in the moment. That's what practice is about. It's adjusting in real time, meaning the moment you realize, oh shit, I'm $100,000 in debt for a degree I didn't give a fuck about, but the degree was just meant to keep me stable. So how do I get the stability need met? Well, that's the only care. Or, oh shit, I followed this career thinking there would be a community associated with it, and it's not a community I want. Okay, how do I get the community need met? For fuck's sakes, I wanted autonomy, but I became a drone. How do I get the autonomy and individuality and self-expression need met? Oh, I got to be more myself. I got to back myself. I have to show up to make sure that every part of me is along for the ride and no part left behind. But I am not going to have my inner teen run a role that is not appropriate for them to run. See, ultimately, financial intimacy is the work of adults. And I've said this in 1,000 different ways, but I love inner teens, but I don't love when adults behave like teenagers, because that is the surefire way to ensure you never have what you need, ever. And I don't make the rules here. That's just how it is. Because a 17-year-old has no comprehension, nor should they, of what a 40-year-old requires in their life. It would be cruel and unusual punishment. And see, in all of this work, is what I teach in the Piggy Bank, because it is so important that we start to let our adult selves step up into the practices, into the philosophy of what does it actually mean for me to be the adult I always needed? What does it mean for me to reparent my inner teenager in the way that I never got? How can I make sure those needs are met? So I'm not getting these compensatory material things or these alternative paths in attempt to get the no-name brand version of that need satisfied. Because in the Piggy Bank, we literally do this. If you don't understand that your inner teen has needs, you'll override them. And the more you override them, the more the inner teen doesn't trust you to take care of them. And the more incentive there is for this juvenile adolescent self to step forward and go rogue in attempt to get that need met. You need to understand that every part of you will do what it can to satisfy a need, even if it's not the full thing. The practice here is to bring some consciousness to it so we're not fucking up our lives. So you need to recognize the influence of the inner teen because it's a survivalist, because they have so much control, and because there's so much energy behind them that is simply ungrounded, because they're powerhouses. Teenagers are wild, right? But they're ungrounded, so it's chaotic. You have to recognize that that has an influence in your ability to generate, hold, cultivate wealth. So if you're not taking care of them, you can't take care of your wealth. It just doesn't work. And so your responsibility is to nurture them. If you have a creative teen, it might be time to let them have a creative outlet. Let them do your makeup, but don't let them do your taxes. Let them do your branding, but don't let them be in charge with how much you charge. What you're doing is creating a relationship with that part of yourself so that you can be the autonomous decision maker to create your own formula when it comes to wealth. Because if you're not paying attention, you will allow the narratives of rebellion or the narratives of conformity to determine what wealth looks like. And then you will wonder and be terrified of why your heart feels so lost and abandoned. This work is about you recognizing that as an adult, you are at cause of your own life. You don't have to abandon any part of you to have the time, the money, and the energy for your existence, because wealth is unique and independently determined. I can't tell you what reverence is. You will feel it in your body because I can't change what you revere. So when you live your life as an act of devotion, of an act of being in reverence and relationship to the truth of who you are, then all of a sudden you kind of feel like you're invincible, because suddenly the rigid formulas of yesteryear feel kind of archaic and bullshit. You realize that you don't have to do the whole Dave Ramsey approach to paying off debt, that you don't have to have shame for the debt you have. You can just be responsible for the debt that you have, which means the ability to respond to it. You don't have to feel limited or held back by a job, because you can then go find a new one that pays you better and it feels more aligned to the things you require, like evenings off so you can hang out with your kids. See, to be autonomous means that you have to be clear about the things that you need. And what it costs to be you doesn't mean just your rent, but it also means like having the time for the things you love, making sure you have the money for the things that nourish your soul, and that you have the energy to do the things that you truly desire to do. And that's why we go over expenses in the Piggy Bank, but not in that dry, fucking mindless way that has you totally disconnect from it, but actually have you embody that deeper sense of who you are, because your adult self gets to own that. And your inner teen gets to have their needs met without sacrifice and rebellion and without falling in line and fitting into a box. None of those survival tactics need to be here. They don't need to be reinforced, because you get to decide what wealth looks like in your life. That is 100% your choice. I can't even tell you what job you should have or what money you should spend your money on. Like, I don't even get to be involved in that equation at all. What I get to do is teach you the philosophies and the practices for you to discover it and to own it and to be able to go into the world and create something for yourself that you and all parts of you feel excited about, to feel aligned with, even in the natural chaos that happens in life. Because again, don't get me wrong, that shit happens, but that you've got this. Because if you don't feel like you've got this in the lowest points of your life, there's a part of you that does, that shouldn't. In the lowest parts of your life, your inner teen will come online with every survival strategy, when that's not a teenager's job. See, back in April, I had taken my dog for a routine surgery, just a regular spaying. And within 24 hours, she was bleeding all over my floor. This is my most important thing in my life. And I began to freak out. All of a sudden, my inner teen came online and was like, what if we can't afford an additional surgery? What if we have to put my dog down? Oh my God, like, how am I going to be able to? She lost her fucking mind. Because as a teenager, I had to have the plan. I had to have everything all figured out. And if I didn't have all the ducks in a row, I was fucked. And then I took a major breath. I let myself cry. I let myself grieve. And then I could feel the deeper reverence, the deep embodied respect for the truth and the truth that's unfolding, so that I could respond to reality rather than my delusions. In that moment, I was clear. I have enough room on my credit card. And if I didn't have enough room on my credit card, I'll figure it out if that is a bridge to cross. I am not going to put my dog down. I am clear. That adult self needed to step up in that moment that my inner teenager was flailing in an unexpected, chaotic experience. We can't predict life. There are going to be times in your life where you have that moment, because this work isn't about making you infinitely rich so that you never have problems. Because guess what? It doesn't matter if you're rich, you have problems. It's about how you respond to those problems when they arise, and whether you respond to them through survival and therefore rebellion or conformity, or if you respond to them as a reverent and mature adult, because those two will create entirely different lives. The earlier will just give you an adolescent experience, while the latter will have you remain aligned. See, inside the piggy bank, beyond what it costs to be you, we'll also go look at, what does it actually take for you to make money? And is that the best use of your energy? And I know that sounds crazy because you're like, bitch, I got bills to pay. What do you mean best use of my energy? But you'll start to realize that there's ways where you are overextending and overexpending your energy just to make a little bit of money, when you could spend less energy making more. And you'll use your actual life to discover that. You're going to shift your relationship to what it means to look into the future. Instead of being scared of savings and seeing it as a limitation in the present, you'll see it as an opportunity. And yes, we do go over debt because people lose their fucking minds when it comes to debt, because debt isn't something to be scared of. It is just a place for us to practice even deeper love and forgiveness for our inner teen, because our inner teen used debt as an attempt to get a need met. And somewhere along the line, we as the adult self dropped the ball. We didn't show up to correct that mistake or to account for using debt. And now it just feels like it's snowballed. But the beautiful thing is that when we start responding, it starts to self-correct, because that's what practice does. It's adjusting in real time. And so if you feel called to come into the piggy bank, I 100% invite you to do it. This work, not to be cocky, but I'm going to let my inner teen have the stage here and be cocky about it, because there is nowhere else you are going to work on your inner teen and your money shit simultaneously. I can promise you that. But the fact that there's even any money work going on without looking at the inner teen is completely bonkers to me. Because even right now, and I trust that you are all seeing this, how much impact and influence that relationship has on our ability to create wealth in our lifetime. It is a short introduction to financial intimacy, but it is profound. It is wild. And feel free to take your time. But don't forget that this is probably going to be some of the most important work you're ever going to do around your money, around your wealth, around your ability to afford to live your life as big, bad, beautiful adult life that you are meant to be living now, today, like right now, beginning this moment. So if you're still in this spot of like, wait a minute, my inner teen is so fucking alive and so up right now, I'm still struggling to see how I can put some of these delusions away. Just take a breath. Your only step right now is to see what's a delusion and what's real. And that's going to be some of the hardest work that you do, whether you join me in Piggy Bank or not, because the delusions are very compelling. So I'm going to offer you this one question. What if that's true and untrue? And the reason why I want you to sit with that question every time you're just a little lost is what if? What if it's true that your inner teen is not responsible and reckless with money? What if that's true? But what if it's also not true that your inner teen is reckless and irresponsible with money? You'll start to see that your inner teen is not something you need to refute or punish, but something to parent and teach and love and respect, because every part of you deserves that as a bare minimum. So I hope to see you inside the piggy bank. And if you're watching the replay, I really encourage you to leave me a comment with what you're leaving this video with, what really landed, what resonated, because that's such an important part of you actually acknowledging and starting to take the first step towards taking care of these younger parts of yourself, so they don't feel like they have to go take care of themselves.